the Justice Democrats experiment has been an epic failure. This quote progressive takeover of the Democratic Party has been an epic, unmitigated failure. They were set there. They pretended as if they were these firebrand revolutionaries who were going in to do a quote hostile takeover of the Democratic Party. Those aren't my words. Those are the words of the co-founder of the Justice Democrats, Kyle Klinsky and Jan Kuger, who said they were sent there to do a hostile takeover of the Democratic Party. And since they've been there, it's nothing but they're doing apologetics for the Democratic Party. They're there telling the people who donated to them, who fundraised for them, who volunteered for them, who got them elected. They're out there after they ran on busting up the establishment and shaking up the status quo. As soon as they joined the Democratic Party in Congress, they wanted to turn around and said, all right, everybody, so the Democratic Party is great. They're amazing. Nancy Pelosi's mama bear. And Joe Biden's doing a great job, and you all just need to calm down. And oh, by the way, no, we will not be forced to vote on Medicare for all. That's what they've done. On top of voting for horrendous, shitty corporate bailouts, they're out there trying to bullshit us about the Democratic Party and gaslight us and pretend like they are coming anywhere close to meeting the moment. And so people keep, you could say I'm beating a dead horse, you can say I'm out here I'm stirring the pot, you can say whatever you want, but this is an irreconcilable difference for me, because there is no playing both sides here. You can't be at every turn, every single time it matters, serving the corrupt Democratic establishment, and at the same time pretend to be leading a working class political revolution to address systemic wealth inequality and the disproportionate power that the rich and wealthy have in this country, as opposed to the overwhelming majority of the public. You can't be leading that movement and serving the establishment at every turn. You can't be leading that movement and trying to gaslight and manufacture consent among the public that they should be grateful for what Joe Biden has done. They should be happy with what Joe Biden has done so far, even though it's been a steaming pile of shit. And Joe Biden won't even do the shit that he promised to do, which was woefully short and inadequate of meeting the moment. He won't even do that. But still, these Justice Democrats, AOC, Pramila Jayapal, Bernie Sanders, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, they're all going to come out here and tell you Joe Biden's doing a great job anyway. So we hear all the time that, there are allies. They're just allies with bad strategy. And that refrain it's wearing thin. Because how many times can you use that? After the CARES Act, after rolling over and shilling for Joe Biden, telling people to go vote for a neoliberal corporatist like Joe Biden, warmonger and war criminal like Joe Biden, get nothing in return, make absolutely no demands for your votes. You do that. You sit idly by for an entire year while Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats control the House. And not one time did they bring Medicare for all single payer up for a floor vote. Not one time did they propose any serious legislation to deal with the eviction crisis, the tens of millions of people who are going to be evicted because they owe months in back rent. Never once did the House do anything about that. Never once did the House do anything about monthly recurring checks in the middle of the worst economic crisis in history. So they sit idly by with that. Oh, they're even though they're serving the wishes of the establishment and allowing the corporate heist to continue unabated. Oh, they're our allies. They just have bad strategy. And then, of course, with the most recent stimulus package, folded on the $15 minimum wage with absolutely no fight. Joe Biden won't even mention the public option that he ran on. Instead, subsidies to Cobra and private health insurance companies. That's all we've done for the last year. Instead of guaranteeing some type of public health system to everybody in the country. It's been blank checks for the middlemen, the scammers in the for-profit health insurance industry. And then bullshitting us with forced to vote and trying to tell us that a pandemic and economic crisis, this is a bad time to vote for Medicare for all. Okay, so I've been at the point where I can say that they're not an ally anymore and they are part of the establishment. If they're serving the establishment this much, you are part of the establishment. So this whole idea that, no, you can't have it both ways. And you all know who I'm talking about, people like Kyle Kalinske and all the other kind of mealy mouth new media hosts who are coming out and talking about their endless disappointment with the squad, but telling us, oh, we still have to support them though. We still have to keep giving them money though. Oh, we still have to keep going out and voting for them though. At this point, you're telling people to go and support the establishment. And this, I can't believe I waited this long without even mentioning. Now they're taking the money that people give them, regular, hard, working class people who are anti-corruption and want to bust up the corrupt establishment in Washington, D.C. So they're funding these so-called leftist politicians. AOC is taking that money and giving it to corporate Democrats, giving it to people who oppose Medicare for all, giving it to neocon warmongers who want to continue U.S. imperialism around the world. She's taking that money and giving it to people who are diametrically opposed to our agenda. At least as far as we know, $160,000 so far. That's what they're doing. So if it's not clear by now that they're serving the establishment, I don't know what else to tell you. I know people are having a hard time admitting this to themselves and to their audience, but at this point, like I said, if we can't be honest about that, if we can't keep it real with that, then you're just lying to your audience. You're lying to yourself. Because unless you're sitting here waiting for a handwritten letter in cursive where they announce to you, we officially renounce our allegiance to this populist left movement, and we now swear our allegiance to the establishment, the corporate in the country. Like, if that's what you're waiting for, it's never going to happen. So let's just operate with the facts that we have and how we see how they're operating, and they clearly are not advancing the agenda that we sent them there to advance. So let's address that. And so, further evidence of this, Pramila Jayapal, AOC, asked about how Joe Biden has done in his first 100 days. And of course, couldn't pass up an opportunity to gaslight and bullshit the left on behalf of the establishment, lying to us for the establishment, as they do. It's like a regular gig for them at this point. AOC talking about Biden he's exceeded expectations. Pramila Jayapal, the chair of the Progressive Caucus, supposed to be one of the most powerful adversaries on the left to the Biden administration. What she says he has met the moment, and she gives him a grade of an A. So I'll show you the clip. I'll come back and break it down, but first, you already know the deal. If you're able to contribute to the show, the links are in the About page and in the description box. I've linked to Patreon if you want to help support the show monthly. You can sign up to $5 a month, $2 a month, $10 a month, however much you can do. And I don't post Patreon exclusive content because I just feel like everybody should have access to the content that I make, regardless if they could pay or not. I also have linked to PayPal if you want to do a one-time contribution. I have links. I have a GoFundMe to get equipment to upgrade the quality of the show, and we've officially passed $300. So thank you so much to the people who've contributed to that GoFundMe. That's also in the description box of this video. So all the people who help support the show, all the people who keep showing up and watching and commenting and subscribing and sharing the videos, you guys have helped the show become as successful as it is. Even though YouTube is hell-bent on making sure that this channel doesn't grow, you guys have helped me out. So I have the clip. I'll show it to you, and then we'll come back and break it down.
On to President Biden and how he's doing. One of your fellow progressives in the House, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, says that he's exceeded her expectations and expectations for progressives. Do you agree?
I do. I think that this has been a really interesting time for us to see how the progressive movement at large, all the progressive voters, young voters, voters of color that came out and turned out for the president in November, helping us to win the White House, the Senate, and the House, and the pandemic and the way in which it has just really shined such a bright light on all the inequalities that have existed. I think President Biden has risen to the moment, and I really do give him an A in what he's done so far. It's been bold, it's been progressive, it's been what the country needs. He hasn't shied away from it, he has leaned into it, and we're hoping that the same continues to happen as we go through the process to pass the Jobs and Families Plan.
So the first point I want to make is, what's the point of even lying like that? Because that's just a straight up lie. You're just lying at that point. Joe Biden has met the moment of the pandemic. You're just lying. He's against monthly recurring checks, hasn't done a goddamn thing about the eviction crisis, took the $2,000 checks to $1,400, and killed the $15 minimum wage, which would have been bullshit incrementalism anyway. And you're going to come out and tell us he's met the moment. He gets a grade of an A. Why would you do that? The only possible explanation for saying that, and again, I'm sticking to my assessment that she's lying, because I know she doesn't believe that bullshit. The only reason I can think she's saying that is because she wants to make Joe Biden happen. That's Occam's razor, the simplest, easiest explanation for happening. She wants to make Joe Biden happy and make all the neoliberals in the Democratic leadership happy. So she's going to go out and lie to the public, lie to the progressives, the leftists who support her and donate millions of dollars to her. She's going to lie to them to make Joe Biden and the establishment happy. Now you can add all the defenders and people who still think there are allies. You can add in all of they're lying because Pramila Jayapal thinks she lies to us enough for Joe Biden, then maybe at some point he'll turn around and give us Medicare for all because she lied for him or something. You can put whatever spin on it, you can put whatever rationalization you want. I think you're honestly just making shit up, and you're just making shit up after you move from she's lying to please Joe Biden. She's lying to please the corrupt leadership of the Democratic Party. Because that's what we know is a fact. Everything else is just speculation. We know for a fact, though, she's lying to please the Democratic Party and the establishment. Let's get into the meeting the moment. How can you tell me Joe Biden has met the moment when this is the same man who, when he was running for president, and he sticks by it to this day, even while we're in a pandemic, even though 1 million people are dead, even though over 10 million people have lost their health care, even though we're in the worst economic crisis in history and over a third of people in this country can't afford basic health care if they need it, and we're in a pandemic, he would veto Medicare for all. He would veto single payer if it crossed his desk. If it miraculously passed the House and the Senate, if it crossed his desk, he would veto it because he's that corrupt. After he took hundreds of millions of dollars from the for-profit health insurance industry and from Big Pharma, he is so corrupt and he's so cemented in his corruption. He will deny the public health care even though it would cost less than we already pay for health care. It would cover everybody. And the 68,000 people who die every year because they can't afford basic health care, that number would be zero. And Joe Biden's so corrupt, he's going to say, no, I won't do it, even though we're in the worst emergency in U.S. history, because I'm that subservient to my corporate donors. And Pramila Jayapal is going to come out here and tell us that he met the moment. He met the moment. This was the bar. This is what the moment's at. Joe Biden, he met it. He met the moment, according to Pramila Jayapal. What would say he did a shitty, inadequate public option. What would that be then? You might as well put him on fucking Mount Rushmore then. If he had a public option, private insurance was still a major player, and people would still have to be paying like deductibles and premiums and all that bullshit. But there was a public government run option. Pramila Jayapal would be over the fucking moon about it then. What if he did single payer? All of single payer doesn't. If we're just talking about major legislation, if single payer alone does not meet this moment, it doesn't, because we need single payer. We need universal basic income to address the historic, obscene wealth inequality. We need all these other systemic policies. We need to cancel the rent. Tens of millions of people are facing eviction in weeks. Tens of millions of people. We need to do something about that. That's the bare fucking minimum. That's meeting the moment. Joe Biden hasn't done shit on that. None of the Democrats have done shit on that. Pramila Jayapal is going to come on and gaslight you and tell you, lie to you. She's lying to you. She doesn't believe that shit. I know she doesn't believe that shit. She's going to come out here and tell you Joe Biden, he's met the moment. And he gets an A. He gets a fucking A. If this is an A to you, being you, we can't be allies then. If you think this warmongering and the war crimes illegally bombing Syria, if you think extending our involvement in Afghanistan after we've been there for over 20 years, after he's been lying to us for over 20 years, as we learned in the Afghanistan paper, every single administration that the Afghanistan war was going on, except for Trump, Joe Biden was there lying to us on behalf of the military-industrial complex. And then he's going to come in and he's going to request even more money, record amount of money for the Pentagon to continue funding that war in Afghanistan and the funding our occupation in Syria and the funding the war in Iraq and Yemen and the drone strikes in Somalia. Joe Biden is as big a warmonger as Donald Trump or anybody else. And he's continued that. He's hired Lloyd Austin, was on the board of Raytheon as he was being confirmed as defense secretary. Tony Blinken went and created his own defense contracting firm, made millions of dollars off of these same wars, and now he's Secretary of State, and he's again making sure imperialism continues unabated. Still trying to do regime change in Venezuela. Still continuing these illegal and immoral sanctions on Iran, blocking food and medicine from getting into the country. Same in Venezuela, same in Yemen. And of course, the everything falling apart domestically in this country, as corrupt as ever. The rich just ran out with the back door with all the money. And Joe Biden hasn't done a goddamn thing about it. And Pramila Jayapal is going to come out here and tell us that he got an A. She'll give him an A. Okay. So, this is, if you give somebody an A, that means they're doing almost everything you can possibly ask for. They're doing almost everything you can possibly ask for, save maybe one issue. It doesn't even have to be a big issue. Just, a minor issue. Other than that, he's doing amazing and he's doing everything we could possibly ask for. That's what an A says. So if you're giving Joe Biden an A, you're a neoliberal corporatist. Because if you think this is the ideal agenda, if you think this is the best that we can do, while the Democrats control the House, the Senate, and the White House, and you can't ask for anything else, okay, you're a neoliberal corporatist. That's what it is. You're a status quo defending, card carrying member of the establishment. If you think Joe Biden, how he's been governing over the last 100 days, gets a grade of an A. So, again, she's not my ally. If you're watching this show, she's probably not your ally. But there are some people out here with very big platforms who are going to come out here and tell you, you still got to keep giving money to Pramila Jayapal. And you still got to keep giving money to AOC. And the rest of the Justice Democrats who swindled and got off on all of us. I wrote an article in Substack. Since in this 2020 election cycle alone, $270 million raised from the working class, from the grassroots, went to these Justice Democrats. For them to turn around and not do shit for us anyway. For them to turn around and act like any shitty establishment Democrat. If Joe Crowley was in that seat instead of AOC, he would have voted for the CARES Act. He would have voted for Biden's shitty stimulus bill after he took the $15 minimum wage out of it. And he would have never pressured Biden to do anything. He would have came out and tried to kill for us to vote. He would have done the same shit that AOC is doing right now. And he would gaslight us and tell us that Joe Biden is exceeding expectations. So what is the point of raising these ungodly amounts of money to elect these lying ass politicians who claim to be going there to bust up the establishment and shake up the status quo, and then they go there and fold immediately, and then they turn around and use their giant platform and their reach to leftists across the country and their position of influence and authority in the movement and try to tell everybody that you should lower your expectations, and all we can possibly hope for is neoliberal incrementalism over the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So they took hundreds of millions of dollars. AOC Bryce raised like $22 million since 2018. And they are now kneecapping that very same movement and making it so that we can never make any advancements as long as we all follow their lead. So this is as insidious as it gets, and this is the thing with the Democratic Party. They will smile in your face and they pretend to be on your side, but all the while they're working against your interests and they're working to defend the status quo. And you're their sucker because you keep showing up for them. You keep showing up to vote for them. You keep showing up to support them, and they'll just turn around and fuck you over every single time. And then these elected progressives will come out here and tell you, piss on your leg and tell you it's rated. Tell you Joe Biden's exceeding expectations, and tell you that he's gets a grade of an A, and tell you that he's met the moment, even though we can all see none of that is true. They'll tell you not to believe your lying eyes, and they'll bullshit you and manufacture consent for Joe Biden. And here's the thing. It is so insidious because they're gonna do all this shit, and then they're gonna lose the House in the midterms. And then they've already thrown up their hands and admitted that we're not going to get anything anyway. But then they're really going to say, hey man, we can't do anything. Republicans control the House after the midterms. We can't do anything. And so this is the opportunity that they asked for. They want the Democrats to control the House. That's what they're telling us. Vote blue no matter who, so when the Democrats control the House and the Senate and the White House, we can pressure them to do the left agenda. We can pressure them to do Medicare for all and all these other policies that the working class people in this country want. Get Democrats elected so we can do that. This is everything you wanted. And the cherry on top is nothing can be passed without the progressives say so, because the majorities are that slim in the Senate and in the House that they basically have veto power on all legislation. They have everything that they wanted, and they're not even fighting a little for our agenda. And they'll pretend like they are, and then when they lose this once in a lifetime opportunity where they control the House, Senate, and the White House, then they'll still turn around and pretend, man, we almost got him. But just keep donating to us, keep voting for us, and maybe we can do this again in 15 years. Maybe we could try this again. Boy, they are the definition of controlled opposition, and I just will not rest until everybody on the left sees it. I just won't.